This is the greatest moment that you and I have ever lived. We have never been better or greater or more alive than we are right now. You see, as long as we believe there is a better yesterday or that tomorrow holds for us some kind of guarantee, we're missing out on the greatest moment that we've ever had, and that's right now. Yes, right now in this moment, in this reality, this now time is your moment. It is the life of spirit going. These plants are operating on now moment energy. They are not hoping to draw an energy from 3 weeks ago when they were here. You understand? It is the greatest moment that we've ever lived, and the reason why is because now is where we have that power. We're these catalysts. We are these vehicles of the presence and power of God, and it's in the now moment that this possibility, the new of who we are, this imprint of God can flow through us effortlessly. Effortlessly. But in Sufism, it would say that the past and the future are way in the way and shield God's presence in our lives. Actually prevent it from offering what is possible to be created through us. I'm mindful of one of my favorite stories. It's about a beggar that goes to the gate of the king. I've told this story before. I remember that I did that. But he goes to the gate, and because he sees a sign that the king is going to have a wonderful celebration. And he wants to be part of this celebration, and so he keeps talking to the guard. And he tells the guard, he said, "Would you let me talk to the king?" And so he brings him in, and he says to the king, he said, "You know, I want to come to your party, but I can't come like this." And the king calls his prince and says, "I want you to take care of this man, and I want you to decorate him in beautiful attire suited for him to come to this party tonight." And so he does. And the man is looking in the mirror at now this image of royalty, this essence, and how beautiful he feels inside himself as he's having this new now moment of his life. But then he hesitates. He hesitates. And he looks back at his rags, and he goes over there and he scoops them up, and he holds them very close to him. He carries on throughout dinner the same way, holding those rags. At the same time, every day down the street, there he is, carrying those rags. He's known for the rags, the man with rags, rather than the man of riches. He was clothed in a consciousness, and he hesitated and went right back to the paradigm of past ways. I know none of us do that. But when I was thinking about the story and thinking about its relativity to today, I would say that our biggest rag in our humanity today is our misunderstanding about time. We are in an era where we mantra how busy we are, how much we have to do, how many things are going on, how many people are pulling our time. We have more technology than we've ever had. We can tweet you, we can beep you, we can message you, we can send you photos, we can do that. But what is the reality about our time? Our time. I wanted to talk about this before we get into the season that's coming up here, because it's very important, to be driven by the reason for the season, not the fast pace of the season. Can you make that distinction? Yes? There's a statement that says that all people want change. I think they do, don't you? All people want change. But very few people want to change. Very few people want to change. And there's a big difference between those two realities. It's like the newer version of the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that that would be me. Don't you love that one? I know. I love it. I feed on that particular one. It's likened to the story of a family that they move from the hustle and bustle and the busyness of the city. They want to reassess their values and they want to be there for their children, and so they moved out to the country. And they're all settled in, and a neighbor comes in to see the mom of the family, and she said, "Oh, welcome, and we're so glad you're here." And she said, "But I noticed this interesting thing that you have posted on your bulletin board. What is that?" And the woman said, "Well, it's a poem, and it's actually the reason we're here. It triggered us so much that it's the reason that we moved. And the title of it is, 'Lord, Slow Me Down.' However, we haven't had the time to read the rest of it yet." You know, every one of you, how many of you have a to-do list? I have one. All right. I have a to-do list. I have all different, actually I have things written on it. I have all different things that I put on this list, the to-do list, the check-off list, the things that need to be done, the way that we're going to do the things that are important to us, that we claim to be important and necessary for our existence. But how many of you put you on the to-do list? How many of you put you on the to-do list? When I used to teach stress management, we would talk about that you would never imagine making a promise to a child to take them to the park or to take them for an ice cream and not fulfill it. Well, you could do it, but you would hear about it for a very long time. That's the way we do ourselves, is that we often make promises to ourselves. We make time for ourselves, and then it's the first to go because something else wants to take it. And so that's my invitation as we are launching into a perceived busier time of the year for us to really delve into the value. I mean, we're getting ready to be born. This is a very exciting time. We're getting ready to shed layers and open up to what can be born within us right here and right now. What part of that essence and that Christ, what part of those dreams that you've had that are lying dormant, those realities that you've wanted to be different. This is the now time that they are going to manifest, and yet it is up to us as people, to want to change, to be willing to do something different, that we don't get in those same movements of 4 things a day, scheduling, overbooking ourselves, and all the things just because someone along the way said that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, in Scripture, there's 2 identifications of time. One is chronos in Greek, chronos, which is where we get the word chronological, and it's quantity of time. It's the calendar. It's the Google calendar. It's the Microsoft, the entry that we make about what we're going to do. And there's also kairos. And kairos is the ability to act now, to be present now, to have space now, to be in that energy field of what is possible. And that, to me, is the space that's more pertinent as we go into this time of year, is how to be that. Through an herbologist and nutritionist, me and Bibi, we've been doing a detox. It's a pretty serious one to prepare ourselves for this time of year. And it requires you a number of days to have no chewing, no chew, liquids only. I could go a lot of places with that, but I'm going to stick to my story. So anyway, it requires you to have this time that you don't do any chewing of real food. And there's something very interesting about that, because you come to realize how much of a distraction what you're going to eat and when you're going to eat and the time that it takes. And in that space that you're not occupied with that, it's very interesting how time within your life, it changes. And it feels very present in the moment, because there's nothing you're going to go do to fix or take care of that immediate need. You become more disciplined in that space. Now, I'm not trying to convince all of you to go on a detox or do some no chewing days. But what I am asking you to do is to look at the original things that are pulling at your heart that would offer you something different. I started years ago detoxing from the rituals that I had told myself I have to do or I should do for the season. And I started opening up to a number of different possibilities of what would be not only better for me, but would be better for my family, everyone else. You know, everybody deserves for the people that are giving their time to be there because they want to be. And when we're there for people and we don't want to be, we're cheating them of the people that would want to be. Everybody breathe. Breathe in that space of that, and breathe in that essence of that. Reverend Diane was wonderful last week. It was so great having her. She was just really powerful. But I loved when she was talking about the Trinity of body, mind, and spirit. She said that for her, and I am feeling and believe the same, it is spirit first. Spirit first. We greet the day with this spirit open life, with a full cup of what is possible. I mean, we start our day with such an immensity of gratitude and possibility and vibrance of life. That's how we start. That's what we do. That's the adjustment that we make before we go in the world. It's not, how am I feeling? You know, people say to me sometimes, how are you feeling? I go, you know, I haven't checked that yet. I feel great. We are here to not deny our feelings, but we're here to be a master over our feelings. And it's not to start our day with how I feel. I mean, many of you, if you were going with how you feel, you would never leave the house. I mean, because once you start the list, it multiplies, you know, like I don't even know how I can go on now. You know, I went somewhere and I'm trying to get back. But it is very true in our consciousness about the now. Ernest Holmes of Science of Mind said very clearly that let the past go. Let it go. Let all the shoulds, let all the guidance, all the what I've got to do, let all that go. And step into a place of this is where I begin today. This is where I begin right now. I choose with where I put my time, and I choose the way that I value it with others. I'll close with one of my fun stories about the American businessman that goes to Mexico, and he sees this guy fishing. And he noticed the guy's only caught a couple of fish, and he goes up, he introduces himself, and he says, you know, I noticed you just caught a couple of fish. He says, that's all I need for my family. He goes, do you live here? He said, yeah. He said, yeah, I live here. Well, he said, what's your life like? He said, oh, I have a full life. I have a very full life. I fish once a day. I take a siesta with my wife. I spend time with my kids. And at night I go and play the guitar with the amigos. Great life. And the American businessman said, well, you know, I can show you how if you fish more, you could buy a boat. And from buying one boat, I could show you how you could have several boats. And when you get those boats, he said, then I could really coach you, and you could have a cannery. And he said, and the guy goes, well, then what am I going to do? He says, oh, well, from the cannery, he said, I'll set you up that you can go public. I can set you up with stocks. And he said, you'll become a millionaire. And the guy went, millions? He said, yeah. He said, and then he said, it'd be great. And the guy says, well, what am I going to do? He said, well, it's perfect. You'll be able to fish a little bit in the morning and have siesta with your wife and be there with your children, and you'll be able to go down and play the guitar with the amigos, and it'll be a wonderful life. There's often a time that we forget that what we're looking for, we're looking with. That what we're seeking, we already have. You know, with the many memorial services I've done in my life, there's one thing people talk about, that someone gave them time. They talk about the story of that person, and they say thanks for your time. So Reverend Dawn, thanks for your time.